Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome everyone. We're back again, and I'm back. So
So we got an intro this time.
technical problems, not a problem anymore. I know what's what in these sorts of things. Yeah, we're here to just have a nice, chill, fun time and talk about a new K-drama that we done all watched.
Mm-hmm.
A little rom-com.
Can we dial up your volume just like
Yeah,
a skosh?
absolutely we can.
Just a wee bit.
How's that? Is that better?
Sure.
Is that good?
I'm gonna act like it is. It's great.
Is that better? Can we...
Yes, thank you.
There we go. Okay.
It's definitely louder on my end, so.
It took a moment.
Oh, was it too much?
Is it too much?
No.
To me, she sounded hushed, so that's why.
No.
That's
Yeah.
very rare for old Natalia.
Yeah, that's what
Not much of a husheroonie. How's everyone doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
good.
Pretty good.
You know.
I'm fresh off of spending some time with my punching bag because that's what Ran would want.
That's
She would want me to do that.
That's what she would want.
I
Yeah.
prepared that way.
I just made some just absolutely divine gnocchi that I just ate, and so I'm like in like a really good mood. I'm all
Nice.
full, and then I had a cookie because the bakery was finally open. I've been in this long running I can't call it a feud, but just like sadness expedition where the only bakery that makes gluten-free vegan food has been under renovation And then when it was finally opened, I got the flu and couldn't go. And then I was like,
No.
So are you recovered? Are you recovered?
Okay, like
as much as you kind of recovered?
90%. 90%. I still have this
Always
like
good.
cough that like won't go away, but like and like I'm all, but I am upright and alive.
Yeah.
And alive. And it's
And we can
not-
understand you. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't
isn't
seem like it's
Doesn't
tearing up
half
your
the
voice.
battle, like, isn't that most of what the just what most of hanging out with Natalia is and being like, does she sound like a 90-year-old emphysemic? Or does she sound
fine?
like a human with working vocal cords? Yeah. So we're just, we just came to have a nice chill time, talk about drama, you know how it be. So yeah.
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 There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't
Yeah.
watched the drama, maybe if you care about
Full
spoilers.
disclosure, I've only watched half of it because my sister and I have not had the chance. I'm watching it with her, and she hasn't had the opportunity for us to get together and watch the rest. But this doesn't feel like the kind of drama where spoilers are going to ruin anything.
Here's the thing about, like...
Unless you guys tell me that, like, a serial killer plotline popped up in the
No, this definitely doesn't have one.
Then...
Now, okay, pre-spoiler, it's an enemies to lovers rom-com. There you go.
Yeah.
That's really...
And I will say that, like, its, like, intention is to throw in every single rom-com plot device available. Like, I know that a lot of rom-coms do that, but I think it's, like, actual intention is to make the most jam-packed
rom-com that's ever
like, it's like
rom-commed.
a ode to the rom-com lover type thing, as opposed to just thinking they have to do it, you know?
My sister said watching it, she was like, we're watching it, and she goes, like, what episode are we on? And I'm like, 5. And she goes, really? And I said, yeah. And she says, there is so much in this, and yet nothing has happened. And I was like,
the rom-com way.
yes, exactly. Like,
The rom-com
it
way.
feels like you've got a 50 episode, like, Matt Jang Weekender premise, and then they've just put it in 10 episodes. And you're like,
I always kind of love, like, in a rom-com, because when you say, like, oh, spoilers are coming, like, okay, spoilers. Because,
the people
like,
on the poster get together.
Yeah,
That's
like,
what rom-coms
like,
usually mean.
I don't know how much you can, like, that's like saying, like, oh, no spoilers when you're watching, like, a C-drama. Like,
Don't they
rom-com.
technically have to? I guess, like, the happy ending is, like,
Or happy ending for now.
a little,
Yeah.
like,
It's implied.
But,
That's-
like, I guess a potential happy ending could be that they're not together because it's an actual happy ending. But, like, most of the time, rom-coms, happy ending means the couple that you see.
Yeah, they're selling the
couple.
romance fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so in terms of the genre, the happy ending is they be smooching, you know?
Spoiler alert, there's kissing.
They're,
Like,
they be,
Spoiler
they
alert,
be
there's
smooching.
more than kissing.
Spoiler alert, they do be smooching, though. Like,
Spoiler.
I'm just, like, I don't know if this is shocking to people, but they do adult stuff.
adults
doing
being
adult
adults.
stuff. Oh my gosh. Clutch my pearls.
So from now on, we will be talking spoilers. So sorry, that's what it's going to be. It does start off. What I do like about it is how old the characters are. Like,
Yes.
I'm not saying they're old. They're very, very
They're
adult,
grown.
which
Yeah.
is nice.
And it's
So-
grown actors playing grown characters. It's not
true.
like a 20-year-old pretending to be 40. Like, it's
No.
So people in their 30s playing
grown-ups.
people
you
in
know?
their 30s. This is shocking. It's almost like they could have been doing this the whole time.
Almost.
That's crazy
Amazing.
talk.
Yeah.
You know what I really like? I really like that the main actress, 87, baby. Hey, yo.
Woo woo!
Hey,
87
yo.
liner.
That's right.
She's amazing. Which, by the way, Arthdoll, right? She's an Arthdoll.
Yep, she was the
She's like
the villain's
Villainess.
lover.
She's the villainess.
Like, but
she's
does a lot of,
she's
like,
awesome in
action roles.
Arthdoll.
Yeah, she
like
is.
Yeah.
So good.
I do like the villains in Arthdoll because a lot of times you're like, but I kind of agree with them a lot of the time, and you know,
I
like,
see where they're coming from.
Like, I understand why they would do the things they're doing.
So before I forget, just in case anyone hasn't seen it or whatever, on the Swoon channel on YouTube, they have about, I think it was a 7 or 8 minute featurette of behind the scenes stuff for Love to Hate You, and it was really, really fun. So go check it out. And because usually when that stuff is shared, you know, it's in bits, but I mean, it was a big chunk that it was all these various scenes and things, and it was obvious that they all had a really good time. So I really enjoyed that. And they sometimes, you know, talk directly to the camera type situation. So
they seemed like they had a good time, like especially her, and especially if you like kind of know her background. Like, I don't know about personality wise, but like everything she does in this drama, she does in real life. Like that's her, like, in like the role. So I think she had a lot of fun doing the role because she was like, this is like
not that she's a
everything.
lawyer, but like she does.
But
do
like
martial arts.
but like she's like martial arts.
She does ride motorcycles. She
well,
is
so
cool.
so that was one of my favorite part of behind the scenes, like the part in the show where she with the lead male character, like kind of proving that she could be his bodyguard, like trying to sell herself as his bodyguard for a second, and she like showed off her moves like right in his face. They practiced that before, of course, and it was just funny because like his reaction is very much his reaction, which they ended up just recording. Like it's the same thing. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then after the fact, Kim Ji-hoon, who was standing right there in the scene, he was like, wow, like she really was impressive. Like that was really good. That's really hard to do.
She's like, yeah,
so,
this is me.
She's like,
yeah,
this is me.
Yeah, she's like, I can do this. And she, you know, she wasn't even like breathing hard or anything. It's like, yeah, she's amazing.
No, she seems cool. I always love seeing Kim Ji-hoon.
Yeah. Especially with that hair.
I will say, so the opening scene where it's a bed scene, which like it's not showing a ton of stuff, but there's a dude in a bed and he has long hair, and for a second I sure as heck thought it was the Kim Ji-hoon character. Like I thought that was going to be his character. Yeah. And then because you kind of just see the hair first.
Yeah.
And then, like, a muscular body. It was like, okay. And then they showed his face. I was like, aha, not him. Okay. This is another long-haired muscular dude.
Wild way for a rom-com to start out. It's like, oh, well,
that
like
would
I
be quite the progressive
a one-night stand
rom-com.
with the second lead. Like,
that would be, like, just friend-cest as a plot. Oh, boy. He's gorgeous.
One person that I was happy to see, let me see if I can grab his name really quick. Yeah, so there's this guy. His name is Ju Jung-hyuk. He was a secondary character. He was one of the lawyers. He was kind of the lawyer that had a crush on her. Like, the silly lawyer that had a crush on Miran. And he is from... So he was in a web drama with Cha-hun. From In Flying like a year ago. And so I picked him back then because he spoke English fluently. So like I looked into him back then. He's an ex-idol. So like he was in a idol group called PARAN back in 2005. Oh wow. So like his English or his showmanship or a lot of these things, and just like he always sells it whenever, even if he's in a little role. I'm like, I got my eye on you, buddy, because I know what you're up to. Because he usually is comedic and he sells it really well. And it is how we were talking about Kim Ok-bin. It's her first comedic role, and so she was really, really nervous, like leading in a comedic role. I think she did a really good job.
Yeah. I wouldn't have guessed that was her first time doing that kind of role.
No, me either.
No.
Another thing in behind the scenes, it showed her having to do whenever she was in the interview and she had to do like the kitty cat dance and like really sell herself to the lady that was hiring her. So it was so cringy for her in real life to like do, but she had to keep, filming and doing all these really ridiculous things. And so at the end, she was like pressing herself up against the wall, like, I want to die. It was really funny.
We wanted to die for you.
Right?
Yeah, I have such bad like secondhand embarrassment. So
that scene was tough. That scene was really
really
My
tough.
sister had the remote. She started fast forwarding. She was like, I can't. No, we just can't. We can't watch
every once
this.
in a while, like you'll be watching
fair.
something and that'll happen, and you're just like, oof. oof. But there weren't too many of those points in this one. It was a fun.
She didn't have a ton of pratfalls and stuff necessarily.
No.
So
no, because she isn't good at like falling for real. Like she's very competent. Like
right.
Unless she's trying to really go for an action scene, that's kind of when she's, like that one jump that she does.
What a fun show!
So, I guess we should talk about the show. So it starts off like they kind of see each other in passing, essentially, like for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's like an overheard situation.
Mm-hmm.
And
out of context, overheard conversation.
We've already established that it's not that she just hates men. She has dated a lot, and she has figured out every man is a type. Essentially, every man that she has encountered is a type, and they all different versions of bad.
Suck.
Like, they're all different, but they all equal. They suck. So, but she said it's not
bad or something.
It's not like she's made that up. That's from personal experience. So, like, you can't really argue with that. And so then his character, he's this, like, superstar actor guy. He's had a lot of interactions with women that suck. So super selfish, social ladder climbing type women. And so that's his assumption about women. And so then he's standing there ranting about an interaction with a selfish woman. And of course, she overhears that, and that does not settle well with her, despite the fact that she knows he is pegged by the public as Mr. Nice Guy.
Polite.
Not just Mr. Romantic, but also, like, nice and polite. And that does not set well with her, of course. And so, hello.
Hi.
Hey, welcome. Oh, thank you, Liliana.
And so after that, they pretty much, shenanigans. They end up being thrown together a little bit more. And they don't like each other.
Yeah, like any good rom-com.
like for any enemies to lovers situation,
But, so, though they don't like each other, he, out of the gate, is impressed and attracted. Like, his character is impressed and attracted by hers. When she does the, like, bodyguard boomerang situation, he's gone. Like, he's already like, wow, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to you at the very least. Like,
meanwhile,
maybe from afar.
She thinks he's a pedophile, so she's like, she's determined. I wish I was making this up if you ever seen the show.
It really is.
She's pretty, like, she's like, okay, I'm gonna get close to this guy to prove that he's a pedophile so I can take him down. He's not a pedophile, I'm happy to say.
Not even close.
Not remotely.
What I did think was funny is her character is not dumb in any way, but she even has a line when she's like having that logical reasoning of getting to where she thinks he's that. She's like, it can't be a relative. I'm like, why can't, like, she says out loud, it cannot be a relative. I'm like, how?
Why?
That could easily be a relative.
She's very much stubborn in her kind of vigilantism of things.
Yeah, she's very righteous.
Like, at the point she is in the series, I think they do a fairly good job, especially with the kind of like showing up front what she's done. She's pretty much, this is what she does for almost like her side job living, is going through these guys and like making sure they know what they did was bad. And she kind of has like a hit list. So at this point, she's done enough that she's kind of clouded in her own little bubble of that judgment, which in turn is the same exact thing that the male lead is doing. He's clouded in his little bubble because he's in this like entertainment bubble with a love background that really messed with him, and he's only being like surrounded by a very small tight bubble because he's an actor and he can't actually go out and do things, and it like those like juxtapositions like really clash, and I think it like does a really good job at it at the very beginning to show those, like, these are two flawed characters. They're both flawed in the same way because they're not getting out of their own heads, but like seeing them like back and forth of like just like miscommunication, which is like a standard rom-com thing too. Like,
right.
It kind of sets that up really nicely in that very beginning.
And I think what's kind of funny is as they kind of start a business relationship with the contract, but it's not a relationship. Well, it ends up being a relationship. It starts off a business contract.
Yeah.
And
classic.
so since she already has this thought of like, she thinks he's obviously like a bad dude. So whenever he's like he's reading this contract that she just made up because she's a lawyer, and is like you're not asking enough money. Like he was very aware that she was even worth more money than she was like saying in the contract. And that took her aback a lot. So like he kept doing things not to impress her, but just like respecting her as a person.
Yeah.
Just in the business relationship sense, much less when they started the contract relationship situation. But I think she slowly kept being like, why does he keep being not really extra nice, but he's impressing me with like knowing how much I'm worth even money-wise.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's the thing. It's like he's not extra nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just, that's who he is, and it's not the person she thought he was from that like 2-second thing that she overheard. Like that's the big thing, you know?
Feels like people have
I know.
layers.
Maybe don't make judgments on people.
Yes.
Maybe that's like the actual overrunning theme of this show, especially towards the end.
Oh yeah. So I will say, I think overall, like, so I love the show. I love the entire thing. However, the vibes to me did change as time progressed. Like, the message of the show and stuff, it didn't really change. I thought it got more clear and better as the episodes went on.
Yeah.
So I do think the second half of the show is much more insightful and things, whereas the first half is very much kind of setting up all the misunderstandings, all kind of the very, very typical that we often see. But how they surprised me with how they handled some of it later on. So,
well, that's like kind of the clarity of the characters as well. It's like you're going on the journey of the clarity of what the show is, along with the characters figuring out the clarity of who they actually are, like as humans too. Like there's that kind of like, oh, okay, now we're finally getting all the pieces together and figuring out things and figuring out what this is all about and what they are all about.
Yeah. So one scene that I really, really liked, I think it was towards the middle. I do not see. I watched it like after it released, the day it released. I binged the whole thing. So as far as me being able to remember timeline wise, like when something happened, I of course, because I like action stuff, I really, really enjoyed her training, like the training scene, and then kind of during that scene, her realizing. That's when she realizes he's not a pedophile.
Yeah, but it's like,
It's
oh,
just
that's his niece, and it's like his actual niece is like, yeah, his brother's daughter, his biological niece, and she's like, oh fuck, oh, I've been being really mean to this guy.
That's what she does do the thing where she's like, oh, I'm the messed up one here, and she actually like takes on that
I'm
kind
the baddie.
Am I the baddie? Yeah.
And so that's why, so like the first half of their training scene is kind of equal wailing. Well, actually, her going to town on him.
Yeah.
Because she definitely already has way more ability than he has in that respect. But, so she doesn't hold back. And whenever she realizes this, it's not that she really freezes, but it's kind of like she feels so bad that she's like, I can't hit him right now. I haven't processed this information. And so he thinks that they're still like way up here with fighting.
Yeah, and she's like,
so he starts wailing on
him anymore.
So he starts wailing on her, and he's eventually like, she's not fighting back. What the crap? Like, so
literally running away from him, like hiding and stuff. And he's like, what is going on?
I don't understand.
You were just kicking me in the like
we were
gut.
having a good time.
Like, and I mean, his character, he does seem to enjoy that more than maybe.
Well,
like,
I don't think. Okay,
the first time they're fighting, she like twists his arm or something, and then the romantic music starts up, and my sister's like,
Oh, I thought you meant he was hitting her. And I was like,
no, the other way around.
He might have
and
a
I've
little
seen
bit
like
of
the
tendencies.
clip of like her biting him at one point, and then realizing she left a mark, and she's like, "Ooh, sorry," and he's like, "No, I liked it."
I was like, he's definitely like,
Oh, we're doing that.
he's definitely like, you can tell that like his actual love is acting, and he actually like he enjoys that, to be with her and whatever. Like he hasn't like faced the fact that he likes her at that point or whatever.
Yeah.
But like he's also really excited because he's going to be learning legit stuff from someone he perceives as being legit at this, so he can be better in his craft, because that's also a very big theme for him, is that acting was such a big thing for him, which is also kind of why he has the bad tie to females in the past, because his past relationship did something that almost made him not have a career, which is huge when you're like, it's your favorite thing.
Right.
I will. Okay, I'm gonna bring in my first.
Oh, we're gonna start doing picks?
Listen,
Okay.
I got one thing, because it has to do with the acting, and I was just laughing because it's so ridiculous. So there's this plot in it where it's like, they're like, oh, he never really spends time with women outside of acting. He spends all of his time with his hot male CEO, and I bet they're gay. And the way that they're like, we know he's gay, is because they're like, yeah, like, he was caught, like, after having a kissing scene, like, throwing up and brushing his teeth, so that must mean he's gay. And I'm like, did anyone talk to any gay people? That's like, correct me if I'm wrong. Just because you kiss someone of the opposite sex, if you're gay, doesn't make you vomit. You don't have, like, a visceral response.
Why was
That's not proof.
Like, I'm feeling like the first place I would go was, wow, she had, like, stank
She must,
breath.
like,
Like,
damn.
Yeah.
She
Well,
must
bad,
Is he germophobic? Does he have trauma?
I would have gone with germophobic far before I went, like, he's vomiting after kissing a woman? Must be gay. No, Annie, we haven't shared any ratings yet. We're just vibing. But I was just laughing about this because I was like, gay men don't vomit if they're within the presence of a woman. Like, that's not a thing. Like, like, it's not that people aren't gay because, like, men aren't gay because women physically repulse them. That's not
I mean, maybe some guys, but
like, mostly they're fine with women.
really
They just
either.
are not sexually attracted to them.
Yeah.
But I was just laughing about. I was like, come on.
I do think what's fun about the way these characters are, they're essentially both really blunt whenever they're put in a situation they don't like, or so like if someone that they don't like is in front of them, they're going to say something or do something, and them both being like that makes it really fun, I think. So you have that, especially when they don't like each other, like, that's all. So I think that's
I did see a lot. Not a lot. I'm not gonna say a lot. I saw some people who are like, "Oh, he's so misogynistic and he's so mean to every woman." I'm like, no, he's actually not mean to every woman. He's only mean to women that he perceives as being awful.
I mean, he's very nice to his niece.
He's very nice to his niece. He
has the best friend to the older actress.
The older actress.
Yeah.
And, like, so in, like, the scene where he's, like, being mean to this actress that he's acting with, like, where he wasn't even that mean. He was just like, hey, maybe don't be a bitch.
But he's also doing as, like, a defense to, like, everybody else in the
director
crew.
and a female assistant director that he's very nice to, and he's not.
There's a lot of times where you see him.
They asked for his help. It's not like he stepped in.
Yeah, they were like, hey, can you talk to her? And then the CEO's like, please don't talk to her. Like, he's like, I'm just gonna sit. Don't worry about it. Like, don't. What, you think I can't have a civil conversation? He cannot. You know, well, like, he tried.
It really wasn't that bad. He didn't do anything wrong.
In his defense, at the end, she was just being ridiculous, and then he was like, hey, shut the fuck up. Like, are you fucking kidding me with this bullshit? Like, so for all of these, like, really hot takes that I saw of, like, him being this super misogynistic, super woman-hating, he was never actually just, like, indiscriminately mean or douchey to any woman. Just specific women who were being awful.
I read an interesting article where they didn't talk about him as a character being misogynistic, but that there's sort of an underlying misogyny baked into the series where she's cool. He falls in love with her because she's not like other girls, and there's like some of that stuff. And so I think that's something. Really, because I totally did. Cause the first 3 episodes, as I'm watching, I kept checking to see if it was a woman who wrote it because I was really surprised. Because to me, I absolutely got that underlying.
Is that
I still think it's fun, but
in terms of the series, no one ever says she's not like other girls in the series. Like, there's never a moment. He
literally says that he likes
he
her
does,
because
but
she's
he
not
does,
like other women.
But But he knows other women like her, which is what I find so funny. Because, the older actress, that's another woman like her, who's cool and does what she wants to do and he's friends with.
Yeah, he's kind of, being more of, kind of a literal sense of who he's in the bubble with. And I think the big thing, if we're going to say anything really bad about his perception is that he's not going to therapy. That's, the big thing.
Yes.
But he's in this bubble
therapy.
that, I think that I could see in one version of the show actually kind of the actor bubble and being in your own world with these types of people and the sayings and that sort of thing could have been a huge plot that got cut. But he's in this bubble where I'm not saying it's good, but he is actually interacting with people who are not like her for the most part. And you see that with some of these actresses. And I think the problem is that people always perceive not like the other girls as just characteristically a bad person. She's not like the other girls, but that doesn't make her a bad thing or bad representation, especially in this. I think she's just surprising to people how extroverted she is. And she does all these things and she kind of just does them willingly. And it's I don't think that for me, when I watched the show, it never was they were forcing it in a way that was weird to me.
What I always saw was that while he thought she was not like other girls, he was alone in that assumption. So it was for him, she wasn't like other girls.
Because Ji-hoon's character, I never got that from him.
The stunt guys weren't wow, she's not like other girls.
Maybe I say the director, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so he was alone in this sort of misconception that he's having. And then meanwhile,
but she was also legitimate in that it's not she was perceived as one way and then you're but she's not in a I don't know how to word this. But when she said she could do stuff, she could do it. She improved it too. Yeah. So there was that kind of it would be saying that an introvert can't do things too because they're too quiet and so they can't be I don't know. I can't think of
You can't articulate what you
I can't articulate this, especially on a live. It's just not gonna work.
So I'll say two things. First of all, I do think that every rom-com is probably going to have some inherent misogyny here or there.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter who writes it or anything. So, and we can... I'll save my point about marriage stuff here in a bit.
Oh, Jesus, yes. Okay, we got thoughts.
Because that's a whole separate point. But
Sky and I had a big conversation about this. We did.
Because that's... So, I really love this show because... I don't really think that the whole thing, for me, read as misogynistic, but as far as it is a rom-com, so it's going to have some...
Yeah, and it comes out of a culture, and all cultures these days have an underlying underbaking of misogyny, and so you have to sort of count, work within the confines of the reality of the world,
Now, I will say she's a unique character, and I do think that his character probably does, and I think he might have literally said, yeah, she is inherently different from the actresses and the crap people that he's been interacting with. Just he is different than the crap dudes that she's been interacting with.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. They prove to each other that
they're not like the other person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And essentially near the end of the show, it talks very specifically overtly about gender roles and a lot of stuff to where it honestly gets to the point. It's not just, wow, you're an amazing woman. It's you're an amazing person. You start really taking out some of the gender stuff too. You talk about it, but then also they meet as complete equals. So, like, as I've said, as the story progresses, it really overtly talks about a lot of stuff. So I do think the first half, I'm not saying it's, I really don't think the first half even set up that misogynistically, but it is a rom-com, so you are going to get the tropes and the things like that are, and again, shorthand for establishing those gender roles early on. But I really think near the end, as far as the fact that they had her mom write like a book about her
review of her own marriage.
Yeah, her awful life and family life and stuff, and how it's obvious that the dad hated that, like, and
you know what, I gotta say, I did love how much this woman hates her dad. Like, I was like, one, he deserved it. Like, he deserved just how just, like, mean she is to him every step of the way. And he never fucking repents. And there was never a, oh, you know, for the sake of the family, you should be nicer to your dad. The mom's like, no, I fucking hate your dad, too. I wrote this book about what a douchey and terrible husband he is and how much I hate my mother-in-law. Boom! I love it. And I'm just like, yeah, that's right. That's right. Write those scathing memoirs about your terrible husband who refuses to accept anything good in your life.
And how the Nam Kang Ho character, like, he already was having a really big growth arc with figuring out not all women are crap, obviously, but then realizing what that means for women in society, and like, hey, go read her book. Like, I mean, it all happened very quickly. It almost felt like those last 2 episodes, you wish that growth arc was just a little, like, they had started it a little bit sooner, because it was really actually fun to watch,
I feel like they did a little too much setup at the beginning. Like, her thinking he's a pedophile for half the series is a little much. You know, like...
Yeah, it could have been, like, a one episode.
I guess so, yeah.
You should have maybe figured that out a little sooner so that you could get into some more of the other stuff, I think. Because
it almost felt like they were just milking it for the comedy, like, for her, like, doing all this slunking around, like, around his place.
Yeah, just kind of using it as the thing to make her do all these things, yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree that there's some, like, timing issues that,
pacing
like,
issues.
pacing, like, yeah.
It feels like maybe they had 16 in mind, and then
I feel like they had
Had
something
to go
that
with
was
10,
like,
and it was like, whoa.
Because they really pulled a last minute, like, slut shame arc just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Suddenly they were like, oh, by the way.
So when I say those last 2, you know, a lot of dramas, the last 2 episodes are pretty loaded. They really are.
Yeah.
But, like, this was
really
real loaded.
yeah.
I must say, like, I feel like that was a very realistic arc for, like, the way that entertainment goes, where they're like, oh, we think he's gay, and then they're like, damn it, he's not gay, but we need to have something. And we're like, oh, well, then his girlfriend's a whore.
Well, this is also goes back to why I think there was, like, in the original kind of, like, storyline of this show, there was more about, like, entertainment culture and people in entertainment culture, and that was part of it, because the fan club members are so part of it.
Yeah.
And then that whole thing is, like, was tied as a scandal because of him being in the entertainment company. So I think there was, like, something, and it just kind of, like,
got cut.
Maybe that was
Pushed to
cut
the
for the,
wayside.
like, 10 episode length instead of, like, the 16.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have worked a little better as 16. Like, I feel like they could have really explored a few more things. Like, we could have found out more about, like, the mom, because she was an interesting character.
Yeah,
because I was actually, like, curious. It's like, because she was so, like, meek that you're like, how is this her daughter? Like, so I feel like there was something that could have been explored there with more family dynamics. And I did want more of, like, the best friend, because I found her to be delightful.
I wanted more of her.
Like it would have worked, to be honest. Like, I thought the whole time watching, I'm thinking, this would make such a good weekender if you, like, really leaned into the, like, vigilante, like, aspect of it too, and, like, gave her that plot line in more, you know, less of her thinking, hey, he is, but, like, her continuing to go out after other pervs and, like, you know, and then, all the friends and family members and coworkers,
the lawyers,
and stuff who,
like, you
got so much setup.
You could
like,
have more of
her
these
ex-boyfriend working there, and he's got so much like time on the screen, and you're like, but it doesn't really go anywhere
I know.
Look at it does.
Yeah.
See, Amanda, you haven't made it to the end yet. It does go somewhere,
but
he
also
has a
because
redemption arc of his own.
It's also because in like, since they knew that Ji-hoon's character was not going to be the second love interest, they had to have a second love interest. That's rom-com rules, right? So that's like another thing in the tie of like them forcing things into.
But
So
you know what I like? It's like they had the balls to make the second love interest have absolutely no chance, and no one would ever want, and no one would ever be like, she should get back with that guy. Like, if this was like a regular rom-com, he'd be a much nicer guy. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be a better dude. But in this one, you're like, okay, like, by the end, you're like, okay, he has grown. He is now a better man than he was in the first scene when you meet him.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, like, never in a million years would you be like, maybe.
Scenes, like, there were scenes where the two of them were, like, at work in the break room having coffee and just chatting about their weekend kind of thing. And then, like, he was taking something away from that conversation that she wasn't putting out. But, like, I liked that aspect of it, and I thought, again,
you know what?
If more episodes, you could go a little more into that. And, like
the men constantly misinterpreting what she's saying as, like, her being polite as being like, oh, maybe she's interested. So accurate.
Which was so funny because she wasn't even like
Being nice.
extra polite. Like she wasn't even
she wasn't
hyper friendly.
She was socially friendly.
Yeah. She was just like being a coworker.
Like she was neutral, and they're like, "Whoo, maybe I'll get to ask her
with those
out."
lawyers.
Like,
I'm glad that they didn't throw in like a weird like it was going to be hard for her to be included in the thing. Like, you know, like if it had been longer, they probably would have like put in a thing where like that one guy who was like the best friends with their ex-boyfriend would have been really more aggressive about him being like, oh, you're sleeping with the actor, so you get all these things, right? And because you've already set up they never had females in the thing, that like transition into her being there, they were like, yeah, you're just
you're one of the team.
Well,
like
you're here now.
She even talked, like it was like, but it wasn't even like, and it's not done in a way like, oh, she's not like the other girls. It's because she didn't do anything. It was like she was literally just there. It's just like the writer was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this.
I guess.
Well, we don't need women. Have it hard enough.
They did have her. They pretty much made her do that one karaoke thing.
Oh,
and she performed accordingly, and then they're kind of like, okay. Like,
well,
but like, I mean, like immediately,
all
like
the guys were doing it too.
They were fine.
True.
Like, so
it was kind of more of like, okay, cool, that I can be who I weird at, like I am, because that I think that's the big thing. All those lawyer people were just like weird, you know,
they're weird entertainment lawyers. Like they were,
so they weren't
bizarrely
because they were too
socially inept.
weird.
Yeah,
they were just like,
they were like, wow, a woman's actually talking to me.
Cool.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the slut shame arc for a little bit, but at the end of the slut shame arc, kind of when she gets not really redeemed from it, but when an interview comes out and all this stuff, the part where they discuss pretty much she dated around a lot, and she's not explaining this, but people from her past explain she kind of even used her dating life sometimes as a way to
help women,
punish certain dudes for doing bad. And so as you guys are talking about, like, if we had more episodes, they would have definitely like had flashbacks and things like that showing pretty much she was a vigilante, not like her entire dating life, because I think some of her dating life was her just trying to date around.
But they were trying to meet a nice guy.
But some of it was, even in law school, she would like hear that a dude was trash, and she'd be like, oh, no.
Yes,
I'm going to find him.
Yeah.
Like, and she wouldn't tell anybody about it. She would just go do it. Like, and she wouldn't want to
I also really enjoy, because like one of the flashbacks is how she met her best friend. And it's that her best friend was dating her, like, her boyfriend was cheating on her with her now best friend. And then she was like, the best friend was like, I was expecting her to like get mad at me, but she was like, yeah, men are trash, like, it's not your fault. You should pick a better boyfriend. And she's like, and after that, I knew I needed to be her friend. Like, I knew it.
Well, and that was back in high school, man.
And it was, you know, and I did enjoy the arc where it's like her basically her superhero origin story, where it's like there was a creepy old man And the creepy old man would be creepy to women, like to young girls. And so I worked out every day and then kicked him in the face. And then he went to the cops because I had beaten him up so badly. But they were like, a 13-year-old girl couldn't beat you up. And I was like, I'm just a 13-year-old little girl. I just think you're a crazy old man. Like, you better be looking into hopes for you. And I'm just like, yes. Yes, absolutely. But it's like a bizarrely believable, like, origin story where she would just get so annoyed at this pedophile harassing 12-year-old girls that she was like, no, enough, creepy old fucker. I'm gonna take care of it myself. But, yeah, so she was fun. But I know that Sky and I had a problem.
So again, I really like the show, but oh my gosh, the discussion of marriage.
Okay. This is where, like, they sort of, he had all this growth and then they did away with it all in the last scene for like a laugh. Where she goes into this long, deep conversation while they're in bed together about why she never wants to get married and how she's against the institution of marriage because it traps women, and in Korean society it's bad for women and they always expect women to give up everything for marriage. So while she'll be in a long-term relationship with them, she'll stay with them forever as though they're married. She's not marrying him. And then in the last scene, he's like, we gotta get married, like, so we can have kids. And she's like, bitch, I told you. Like, I'll fucking have kids out of wedlock with you, but we ain't getting married. It was her one thing. It was her one absolute only thing that she was like, listen, I'm cool about this, but the one thing that I will never do, it's like, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. She meatloafed. She said, no, this is my one thing. And then the show was like, she doesn't mean it.
They were like, tee-hee.
Which is so weird because, like, part of his, like, not liking, females in the very beginning is part of, the, like, with the his relationship mom. He has with his mom, like, too. Like, there's, like, a...
Right.
So he...
Married for money.
He already sees the, like, the marriage thing as, like...
Right.
Yeah.
That's where, like, the, where some therapy would have gone a long way, because he wants to marry her, he needs to marry her. Part of that probably has to do with his trauma from the previous girlfriend who left him, right? Yeah. He still has fear that she'll leave, and he needs to lock it down with a marriage certificate.
Yeah, I mean, like, he really does.
It's pretty easy in Korea if you.
It's especially because of the relationship, the type of it. It was not only that she left him for the entertainment system. She also, well, I guess through her manager, like, made it so he was, like, at a point where he's scandals. He was going to get out of, like, acting. He was being told that he was doing all these things, like he was blacklisted and all this stuff all at once, just for her wanting to ditch him for entertainment. So there was like this, it's like a huge thing. And again, they talk about how, like, big acting is for him, and it's like one of his actual true loves throughout the entire show. So, like, you really got, and they also him and his ex-girlfriend met in theater school. Like, she knew how big of a thing it was for him. So, like, it was an actual, like, big thing. It wasn't just that she ditched him to be a star. There was other things that, like, he desperately needed to be in therapy. And then he gets put in a bubble where he can't really go out because he's an actor now. He can't, like, go do things because the fan club is sitting outside wherever he is. And his only real best friend is his manager / CEO. Like, that's it. Like, he is in this, like, extreme bubble that, like, therapy would have helped. But at least you knew, like, going into, like, when they start talking about the ex-girlfriend, that it was, like, something greater than just this kind of flippant, like, my girlfriend ditched me and that's it.
I laugh so much when the ex-girlfriend sort of comes back into his life, and she's like she's got this mentality of, like, I know what he likes, and she's behaving like cutesy and all this stuff, and you're like, it's been 10 years, lady.
Yeah,
like
like,
he's not 20 anymore.
Yeah, like, my friend, my sibling in Christ. No. Absolutely
People
no.
change and grow and like, and really,
we're now
you
30.
Want
Yeah, we're really
you want a
older.
guy in his 30s who wants an 18-year-old? No. So like,
And we
Behave like
very
a grown
quickly
woman.
established in this show that one thing he does not want is a child. That was a big plot point, is that he's not a creepy perv.
But it's also
Ay, ay, ay.
like they were like when they were together, it was like their first love. It was like a very new like relationship. So it's not like they were like mature in that relationship too. So like to come back and be like, I know everything because when I was at my most immature, like
Yeah.
I was the greatest.
people
Like
can grow together and change, but like,
yeah.
like 10 years
Honey,
makes
honey,
a difference.
no.
I am not the same
Honey,
person I
no.
was 10 years ago. And it works because my husband and I grew at the same time together in each other's lives.
Mhm.
If I just go meet somebody from 20 years ago and like, hey, no, we are not the same people anymore. Like,
Thank God.
yeah.
But the ex also pulled the whole thing like, oh, well, I'm going to just straight up tell the current girlfriend.
That we were
No.
dating.
So, like, I'm going to try to project ownership. It's like, girl, like, she doesn't
Yeah.
care.
Well,
Like,
and I also love that how it was handled then. Because she was like, well, that's nice.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what you want from me here.
I also
Like,
date this
okay.
guy. Like,
And
Okay.
at that point, she's like, well, I know that they're not in an actual relationship because I know about this, like, contract thing. Like, she's already, like, picked up on it. So, like, it doesn't make any sense to us. If you think that that woman is not actually in a relationship with it, it's just, like, a fake thing. Like, why would it care if you come up to her and be like, we dated? Like, she'd be like, yeah, and I'm an actor in this relationship, so, okay. Do you want to check my, like, acting skills on this? Like, what
You're like,
are you doing?
Okay.
but then the way Miran's, like, her character, she not only didn't react the way the ex expected, in the end, she tried to really respect the ex and give the ex not really a chance with him, but it was more like, you're obviously still going through something. I'm going to give you space to still go through that. Like,
Yeah.
which, again, as far as her interactions with any other woman, like, and that's kind of why when it comes to, like, oh, she's not like other girls, she has such a good relationship with any other women in the show that's
Yeah.
why I don't think she really fits into that trope of not like other girls.
At least
like,
not
she-
in a negative connotation, because I think
Right.
people are, like, putting
She
it
is
in
more
that
actiony
respect.
than all of the other women around her. That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the way she's
and more
built.
extroverted, and she can.
But she
kind of
genuinely
easily-
likes almost every woman
She
she
likes
meets.
other
Like,
people,
she's
yeah.
she's not.
well, other
including the
other
ex.
women.
Like, that was my point.
She's not a big fan of men, but
she's
you
not
know.
mean to men though. Like,
I will say, like,
openly.
when she's on the set, she's like super good with all of the other actors. Like every
Yeah.
actor she meets, it doesn't matter which sex. She's like genuinely just like, I'm here, I'm personable, we're gonna have a good time, and that's it. So like she does have that like
Mhm.
it's only
Oh,
in
yeah,
like,
like-
relationship issues
I mean,
that
same
like
thing
yeah.
in the law office, right? Like she
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
she doesn't walk in and treat all the other lawyers like they're all idiots or
Mhm.
like, you know, she's just like, okay, we're working, can we work?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
so.
But yeah, back to I didn't really say a lot about that marriage thing. It really did like
Mhm.
the marriage thing got me bad, which the way I'm talking about it, it makes it sound like, oh, it was so many paragraphs of the show. It really wasn't. It was actually a small
It was, like,
part of
yeah.
the show. But the timing of them, because that the last 3 or 2 episodes he had a really big growth arc, and yeah, they had this heart-to-heart discussion, and again, like that discussion, they were just really good, overt. You know, the only other show that I can think of that really has this level of like overt discussion about things was like Search WWW. Like, it's pretty similar when it comes to some of that stuff. But that's why it felt like a betrayal when it was like, he's insisting they get married right at the end. It's like,
It's like, have you learned nothing, sir?
have you learned nothing? Like, And it didn't feel like she was gonna like stomp off from the relationship necessarily because of it, but she would have every right to, because that was her one boundary.
Yeah.
And so I was so freaking ticked. Especially, I love the show. I think it would be a good show to recommend to a lot of people, especially if they're not even used to Asian dramas all that much. Because it feels like a Western show in a lot of respects. But, ooh, like that... Especially after talking about him seeing like the like emotionally abusive relationship of the mother and the dad, like all this stuff. So like that's why it was just, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like,
yeah.
And like I haven't obviously seen that scene yet, but like I could kind of see it if it was like, you know, like the scene in Because This Is My First Life, where they're discussing marriage, and he's like, oh, you know, at the end where they're like, no, we're going to set our own rules and define for ourselves what marriage means. And if it came out like that, you know, if he was like, okay, well then let's not do marriage that way, you know, like, but for me, as you know, if that had been the thing for me as an actor, in order to maintain my career, I can't have kids out of wedlock because it's going to cause problems for my career. So if we want to do that, I need, you know, like if that had been the conversation, then that's a different,
conversation.
Thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not just her giving in because he says so. It's him also having a valid perspective on things and like, okay, let's discuss this.
And I mean, I guess the one thing that's good about that very last line is essentially she doesn't necessarily give in or anything. It was just kind of like, oh, he wants to get married and she doesn't. Ha ha.
I wonder, like, if it's like still wrong and stupid, but like if that was the way that they're gonna tie in for a potential second season.
Oh, that's
because it is Netflix, you know. So it could be like that's how they're going to like set up the second season of this.
So have they said anything about that?
I haven't heard anything. It's Netflix so. And it's not like a you know, just a
if they did if they did a season 2 where this was a huge discussion and she was just like railing on him about it, I will accept it then. But
if they don't,
sitting as it is, I was like, as someone who really enjoyed the show, like I really enjoyed all of the time that they spent on the movie set together. I liked how how the stunt double, like her stunt double role became a larger role for her and she got to do a lot of that stuff. And it was obvious that those characters really had fun together doing that. I really liked all that. So like, you don't get to see that in a lot of rom-coms. So like, I was like, action couple, yes, I want to see that movie, yes.
Yeah, I like it was almost like you were seeing them both work and do what they love working too. Like there was points when you were like, you know, she was watching him do his acting and you could tell that he was really into it, and that was like his highlight of his day doing that. And then like her being able to do the action stuff, which she probably never thought she would do because she kind of just went into the law school and, you know, needed to make money. But like it was nice to see them be able to do those kind of outside things too that I don't like. Not that all rom-coms do this, but a lot of rom-coms don't allow for that. It kind of like when you see the couple together, it's like them together, and like even if they're at work, you don't see them working, you know, that sort of thing. And I think that was nice to, you know, see they had these kind of hobbies that tied together really well, but they were still different in that respect. He, you know, he liked doing the action, but it wasn't his passion. He just did it for the role because he liked to act, and she was doing the, you know, action because she legitimately liked it, and she had been training all of her life to do that. Like that was something that was just part of her life for the whole thing. And I think I love those moments. I love when people get to like, you get to see them doing something that they really like and really love, and it's like not just like being with a person they love. It's like a tangible thing, you know?
Well, and I love when a show gives some screen time to that, you know, not just like, oh, barely a second. Like, no, like we got to see that for a little bit, and I really liked that. Yeah. But then also how you talked about like that way they were able to show her relationship with everyone on set, and how when it was awkward for a bit when everyone thought she was just there when she was the girlfriend, quote unquote, and how that affected her and how she wanted to work hard to fix that because she cared. It's not that she just cared what other people thought of her, because she literally doesn't really care about that. She cared about her coworkers, essentially. Like she wanted to be on good terms with these people she was working with. So I thought they showed a lot about her character in a lot of ways like that. And then I thought it was really all the movie set time was just really fun in my opinion.
I really like all the movie set. Yeah.
So that's a big reason why I really liked the show, because I liked the action stuff, but then also the training thing. So like I liked that aspect of their relationship too, since we don't get a lot of couples that do things like that together. But and then I really do feel like the last probably 4 episodes on, when you're getting the slut shame arc, which was actually, we haven't talked a ton about that, but like that was a big deal. And again, it was so overtly discussed, and I really liked that. Like you don't see that in a lot of Korean shows.
You know what I did like? I did like that the person who was like, no, absolutely not, y'all not gonna talk about her this way, was her actual ex. Her ex was like, no, wait, I know that I spent most of the show being just the most pathetic worm of a man, but y'all have gone too far. Y'all have gone too far for even me. Like, she doesn't deserve this bullshit. We deserved it. Me. I deserved it.
Like,
she doesn't.
own up for, like, the things that you are actually doing that are wrong.
Yeah.
And not just, like, what everybody, like, perceives as wrong, or, you know, like, has their own, like, beliefs and decides that everybody else has to have those same beliefs.
Yeah.
I also liked the older actress character and
oh my gosh.
Miran's
I
character
love them.
together. Like,
There was
so
not
fun.
enough of that. It was so fun.
So, like,
I
later
loved
on, with this slut shame arc and stuff, and how no one is willing to see Miran in public, really, except for that divorced that divorced actress character who's been through shit. And, like, she's like, I don't freaking care, and I will be by your side. And I was like, yes, like, that is what
She's
I like to see.
What?
She
You
was
think
so
they can
great.
tell
She
me
was
what
great
to
with
do?
every character, too. Like, she
Oh,
was
yeah.
great with the guys, too. Like, their relationship was really a lot of fun.
And I don't think she really had an arc. It was more like, people didn't, at the very beginning, they didn't give enough space to kind of get to know her better, to spend time with her, and then figure out, like, oh, she's actually really fun to be around and stuff. And then later on, it's like, oh, she's this awesome person. Like, I mean, they always on the business side of things, they would say, like, they were friends with her or whatever, but, like, they made actual space later on to do that. And
I
support
really
her more.
enjoyed that character. I would have watched, I mean, honestly, a whole drama that was just about the shenanigans the actress was getting into, and, like, this new lawyer that she's had hired to help her get out of shenanigans and like, whatever. That would also
luckily,
be a fun drama. Like, a different drama, but also fun.
They give that relationship a little bit of space. Like, they really... Yeah. I don't know if it's every episode, but at least they pop in pretty regularly.
It was a fun show. I just genuinely...
I had other picks. I can't... Like, picky parts, I can't really think of them now, because it's been forever ago. But...
Right.
Most of the time... Near the end of the show, they not that they explained everything away, but it was more like they kind of shook a lot of the stuff loose that was maybe kind of a little bit more problematic.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny, the whole, like, Kim Ji-hoon's character and how he kept putting his foot in his mouth really bad with the best friend.
He's so terrible. And you could tell he was just trying to use what he used in his relationships as, like, a thing to get, not the girl, but, like, the girl to believe that, like, what they were doing was fine for the best friend, because he was also playing wingman because he wanted them together.
Yeah,
like that was the goal for him.
He genuinely wanted them to be dating.
He's just, like, not even figuring out what the friend just, like, type is, and just completely just every single time. And he you could tell he never, like, experienced that too. He always got what he wanted. Like, he wasn't a terrible person by any means. He definitely didn't, like, play into that trope, but, like, he legitimately in relationships, because he's so good looking and he got everything. And then, like, even when the girl was swooning, she immediately would be like, yeah, no, that just pulled me right out.
Yeah.
Like,
I really love the scene
hot
where
enough, you know.
Yeah, I love the scene where she's, like, coming back from work, like, on her flight, and they're like, he's like, oh, I'll pick you up at the airport, and she's like, cool, and she walks out with all of her friends from work, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at that man! Who is he here for? What is that?" Like they're so, and she's just like, "Oh, that's for me."
Oh,
Like,
sorry.
sorry.
Excuse me, ladies. Excuse me. You're worried about it.
But, like,
Yeah, she was a delight. I like the best friend quite a bit.
I do too. I do think that one was kind of like the least utilized, especially with their friendship. Like I guess that they kind of used the like they were friends forever. So at this point they don't need to be hanging out all the time. They're already like roommates, but like I would have liked to see more of them, and that probably it probably can't happen in a 10 episode. That's just like not something you can devote time to.
Yeah. I watched it all in one day.
Same.
Like
I believe
I
it.
plowed through that. And I was really happily surprised because it probably wouldn't have been one of my favorites if it had just stayed in the mode that it was the first half. Mm-hmm. But it kept going with like really being overt about things, and I just really appreciate a lot of that discussion. And I liked their chemistry. It was really good.
Yeah.
Like
They had excellent chemistry. They I'm not sure I 100% so far anyway buy the characters together, but the actor and the actress, I would watch them do pretty much anything together because they just have really excellent chemistry together. Mm-hmm. Like they just did a great job playing off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, well, I had moments that I really liked. There was not an episode that went by that I didn't want to press stop and cancel. But I also felt bad because I was the one who suggested we do this live stream with this. And I in my head, I was like, what if nobody likes it? And I'm the one who suggested it. So you have to
if
go
nobody liked it, we wouldn't have done the live stream.
Well, yeah, but I still...
If we all got together, we're like, wow, that sucked.
At that point, and I did know, I mean, like, I started, and then, like, Sky was like, I love this, and I was like, okay, one person. But I just, like, felt bad, so I was like, gotta pressure on. But, like, if it had been left to my own devices, no, I would not have
I would say, watching it with my sister, we really enjoyed it. We watched like 5 episodes in one sitting. We were having a lot of fun. It's very fun. But probably if I was watching it by myself, I probably would have been like, yeah, okay, that's not for me. And like let it go because I don't know what. Like it wasn't snagging me. But because I was watching it, you know how some things are like that when you're watching it with people, you just enjoy them more. And we just are really enjoying watching it together.
I'm gonna have to trust you on that because I've never once had that experience in my life.
Oh.
I am a solitary watcher.
You've done watch parties. What are you talking about?
No. What I'm saying is, I've
this
never
is a lie.
enjoyed it more.
When you went to Fantasia Fest.
Okay, yes. Oh, you know what, Jesse?
This is a story that's recorded.
You're right. Okay. There was one exception, and that was watching Samurai Cop at Fantasia Fest, which was the greatest experience of my life. So you know what? I take it back. I'm reeling it back. If you have the opportunity to watch Samurai Cop in a room full of people who might also be a little drunk, you're in for the greatest time of your life, I assure you. But, no, I mostly enjoy watching things solitarily for the most part. So yeah,
that way you can approach it your own pace. Like
exactly.
That's why
I definitely enjoy watching things at my own pace and on my own, but I think there are some things that I don't know how to describe it, but like that if you watch it by yourself, you're like, yeah, that was fine. And if you watch it with people, it's like you remember it as being the greatest show you ever watched. And then you go to watch it by yourself later and you're like, really? This?
All I can think about is watching stuff with my mom, and my mom being like, oh, let's drag it out. We can only watch one episode. We don't need to watch more than one. And I'm just like, you are a monster.
I'm too much of a watch at like 3 a.m. person. Yeah. Like I cannot be like people.
No, one thing I regret is I do wish that Jesse and I had watched Jury-san actually together.
Oh yeah. We could have. I mean, like we did, like kind of watch it around the same time.
Yeah,
so
we at least talked about it.
Point where we were like, sidebar. Let's discuss.
But it's definitely. I'm just saying, it was definitely one of those shows that like, Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah. It's one of those shows where you need to turn and be like, "Do you fucking just see that?"
Yeah,
That's
Fucking
we needed to
watch
process
this?
it by like, okay,
what
wait a
the
minute, did
fuck
I
is
see
this?
what I saw?
like,
Tell me, did I
you,
miss
you really
something?
felt like you were
Yes,
hallucinating sometimes. Like, did that occur? Like, I'm just not sure.
So, do we have any final thoughts on? Okay, I always fuck it up. Is it love to hate you or hate to love? Love to hate you.
Love
right?
to hate
Love
you.
Let me tell you guys, when I was setting this up, I called it hate to love you several times. Because I am what the experts like to call stupid.
No.
We can't. Any final thoughts on love to hate you?
So I guess we can all give like our final take on it. So my final take is I really enjoyed it. Like, it is one of my faves now. And I would recommend it. People who are into rom-coms, I would say give it a shot. If you're if you're really into the enemies to lovers trope, definitely give it a shot. Or if you want to see some progressive discussion later on, just know that it's later on in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated that aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think if you're a rom-com lover, I think this is kind of at least even in just like you'll see all your tropes and kind of be okay with it that way. I think if you are a Western rom-com lover, that like you might actually like enjoy this a lot more than like the standard Asian rom-com, because I do think it kind of skews to that, and I don't know if that's just because we don't get a lot of like older actor rom-coms or older relationships, not that they're old, but like just not young, like 20s. And so I think that might help in the thing. Like I do think it's like a little bit set up like a Western rom-com in parts. But if you're a horror fan, I don't know if you'll like this. Yeah, I mean, like the action, the legitimate, I like really did have fun when they were on set. That was like some of my favorite parts of the show, was just watching them on set, because it was just a lot of fun, and they were having fun too. And I did really like that you could pick up that the actress was having fun in her role. Like I think like a lot of like the perception, it was just that she really liked doing what she was doing. So like she was just happy doing it, and I like when you can pick that up.
I thought it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Mind you, I like everything, so I'm like I'm a low bar. Like, if I enjoyed watching it, I'm like, yeah, the show was great.
It rom-coms very well.
Yeah.
And like, if you like rom-coms, and I do like rom-coms, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm enjoying it. Is it at the top of my list? No. But like, am I mad that I'm watching it? Also no. So like
it's got pretty people.
Pretty people being
be
pretty and funny, and
they're falling
it is
in love.
short.
Yeah, it's not so
and it is
long.
short.
It's good times. It's good times.
It clicks
And
along. It does have pacing issues. It does have pacing issues, but like, at least things happen every episode.
Yeah.
And I thought things were happening.
My biggest issue with it really is that I feel like it should be longer, because they've set up so many things that I would like to see more of.
Yeah.
So like, give me more. That would be fine. Not necessarily in form of a sequel, because that's not what I'm asking for in Netflix. That's not.
You don't want a season 2?
That's not what I'm not saying I don't, but I'm just saying that's not what I mean when I say just give it a full 16 episodes and like tell the story.
I do think the way things are kind of trending towards lots of seasons for Asian dramas, it's very,
especially
very
on Netflix. I know.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Like I talked about in our like watch episode, where that's not out right now, so you'll hear it on Monday.
You'll hear this on Monday.
I saw reports that like Netflix's like biggest money maker is the Asian market, Asian drama market. And so I think that's where they're gonna focus a lot more, and you kind of see that already, which means that they'll apply their standard model to like the things that like make them money. Like Stranger Things is being dragged out because it's what's making them money. So they're going to drag out these things and make them,
when
multiple seasons.
they could just make a new show, a new quality show,
Yeah, they could
people
just
would
keep
enjoy
on
this
making
one.
them. That's because that's
mean,
what
yeah, they
Asian
could
dramas
just-
do. They just like replace it next season with a totally new show.
Make it a series like American Horror Story or something, where sometimes you pull in the same actors and actresses to do a completely new story. And
That's
it's
fine.
just a whole new story.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be.
Or like no Island spoilers from me. I'm just saying there is not any reason for Island on Amazon to
Have
be.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
6
and-
episodes each thing, and I gotta say, like,
Yeah.
they should have just
Especially
dropped
for
it
a
all
show
at
that
once.
like they clearly. It's not like they're really working on it right now. Like they've
Right,
been
yeah.
working on it for like 2 years, so it's not like
Yeah.
that was a split for production.
Right.
Yeah, it's like look
you
at
know?
the Glory. Why is the Glory split in half?
The Glory
Yeah.
was
Like,
What are you doing?
and so many
I
people
heard
like
one
it that like
person
and it's
say-
now.
One
think,
person
yeah.
was talking about the Glory, and they said, I'm like, why should it be too? But then I watched it, and I was like, this is really, really intense, and I just need to take a break.
And the
Okay,
problem
I
is
can
that the
breathe
Glory is
before I go
like
back.
if
Like,
Netflix is gonna use that, they're gonna see that like people came back in
Oh.
droves because people were so into it and just be like, that's it,
Yeah.
that's
That's what we're doing.
what they
now.
want, and they
That's
could have
not
had
what
the
the
same
people
thing.
want. That's just
Same thing
I'm
with
not-
Alchemy
being
of Souls.
forced
Now,
to, yeah.
Alchemy of Souls, I will argue for,
yeah, because it was
but they
did
still
filler
didn't
things.
need to do that.
no.
and I'm okay with 2 seasons if it's 2 seasons. Like with Alchemy of Souls, there
Like, it
is
actually had a
2
purpose.
different stories
Mhm.
being
Yeah.
told, right? And like, but then also space it out. Not 2 separate seasons don't happen a month apart. Like, that's not seasons.
It's
that's
weird.
You
But
took
then
a
on
break.
the other hand, I know that this was because of COVID, so I can't say
Arthdahl?
anything. But I've been waiting a real long time for Arthdahl, okay?
But again,
I've been
Arthdahl
waiting.
feels like,
Ooh.
It's been 84
but
years.
it's telling a later story too,
I know,
right?
I
Like,
know, but
there's-
still.
But, yeah,
so,
But
like,
also-
I can accept that, but
On some level, at this point in the game, and again, it was because of COVID, but you know that some of that audience loses interest eventually.
Yeah.
Like, after how many years
I
does
mean,
an audience stick
They
I
can't
around?
watched
all be as
Arthdahl with my
dedicated as
son,
me, you
and
know?
he
Like,
asked me constantly, like every few months, he'd be like, "Season 2, we hearing anything?" And I'd be like, "No." He hasn't asked in like a year, and I went and said, like, "Oh, Arthdal's getting a second season." He's like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
he doesn't
if
care anymore.
you're not doing it fast enough, like people won't care, or
lose interest.
they don't. Like, I mean, like even with Stranger Things, the percentage is just not there, and they could have had it, but like,
Yep.
Anyways,
anyways,
thank you for coming to our live stream and listening to our video. We'll be back very soon because it's the end of the month, and we all know what that means. What's coming up in March is our next live stream. It'll be on the last Monday of every month. We have a live stream
Monday.
saying what's coming up the next month. So anyway, we hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Ciao.
Alrighty.
Bye.